President Erdogan in Istanbul. And I was reading the headlines of the Russian Pravda this morning, and the headline was Turkish stream is going to hit the EU. Of course, we could probably think this is something, you know, of Russian propaganda, but it goes to show there's always something happening. And since I've started to work on Turkey, which was at the end of the 1990s, there's been so many ups and downs, so many, you know, different transformations, different types of relations with the same neighbours. I mean, back at the end of the 1990s, what I remember most is very good relations with the United States, pretty good relations with the EU, because at that time Turkey was working to meet the Copenhagen criteria to be able to open accession talks, and difficult relations with many of the countries in the Middle East, in particular Syria. And we know after that, you know, a few years down the line, there was this famous, you know, zero problems with neighbours policy of the former Prime Minister, former Foreign Minister Ahmet Davutoğlu, and everything went very well for some time. Turkey was a role model for the region and far beyond. And then a short time after that, we saw a huge shift again, where Turkey seemed to have difficult or problematic relations with many of the neighbours it had suddenly repaired relations with. So we saw, of course, the fall of relations with Syria, with Egypt, with Israel, difficulties in relations with the United States and with the EU. I think now again we've sort of entered a new phase where there's some changes in relations with the Middle East region, a change of policy related to Syria, some shift. Of course, including Turkey's recent, you know, military intervention into Syria, with Iraq, hopefully some form of normalization with Egypt, normalization with Israel, and of course the different shifts with Russia. They went from being, you know, the best of friends to enemies to now apparently becoming back into the friendship circle again. But where that's actually going, who knows? And of course the relations with the United States and the EU remain these days, you know, quite difficult. Of course, coming against the recent failed coup in Turkey, where has that left Turkish foreign policy, or where is it going to go into the future? How is it impacting ties with the West? So these are some of the questions that we are going to be looking at today. We're very pleased to have our guest speaker, Öztürk Yılmaz, who is Vice President of the main opposition party, the Republican People's Party, the CHP. Welcome to the EPC.
Thank you very much.
Of course, he wasn't always a member of this party. He was a diplomat for many years, serving in Tajikistan, in Brazil, and in Brussels, where I first met him when he was covering a number of topics, including, you know, Cyprus. Then returned to Ankara, and then after that was posted to Iraq, to northern Iraq, to Mosul. And I guess many of you will remember that Öztürk was taken hostage along with his delegation in 2014 by ISIS and held for 101 days. So we're very pleased to have you here today, and we look forward to hearing your views on Turkish foreign policy, where we're at now and where it might be going into the future. And as we are already starting a bit late, I'll give you the floor immediately. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amanda. It's a great pleasure to be here, and I think it was the best time of mine when I was working here in the EU almost 10 years ago, and I finished my term here in 2010. Of course, Turkey's EU relation was very dynamic at that time, and there were a lot of discussion about Turkey, whether Turkey would be the member of EU or not. But now I think the discussion shifted to other topics, particularly on refugee issues, migration, so on and so forth, economic issue, Eurozone. And now EU's priorities are changing as Turkey's. I would like to be very brief and then take your questions to be able to get more questions and to make it more interactive. I think it would be very helpful. First of all, before the 15th of July coup, Turkey was governed by almost an autocratic style, one-man rule. And President was using all avenues to be able to grab more power. And we were talking about not the separation of power, but unification of power. In one hand, that means he was very ambitious to be able to create an executive presidency in Turkey and to push judiciary and legislative organs to they corner it. So we felt very much squeezed in the run-up to the coup. What has changed in the aftermath of the coup? I think the situation has got worse, and now we have internal issues. We have state of emergency in place. Government has extended another 3 months. We don't know how long it's going to, continue. President implies that it's going to continue forever, at least 1 year, maybe more. So this is a shocking situation for Turkey and Turkish people. We have seen military coup in 1980s, but now we have seen another type. There are massive purges in public sectors. Almost more than 100,000 people have been purged from the government services. Teachers, academicians, journalists, more than 100 journalists now have been put behind bar. And now we are discussing whether we have democracy in Turkey or not. Before we were discussing whether we can become a member of the EU, now we are discussing whether we have really democracy in Turkey or not. So I think we are very nervous. The way we have used to is dramatically changing in Turkey. We don't know where we are heading, really. Particularly in 2010, there was a change in our orientation, in our foreign policy orientation. It was not the EU was not the focus, but the Middle East was the focus. You know that, and there was a zero problem policy. Amanda has been writing a lot about that. Now, zero neighbor policy turns to be a zero neighbor policy. We don't have any friendly neighbors around us. So what is changing? First, we have some issues Turkey has to tackle. First, how long does it take? How long we are going to survive this tense state of emergency situation in Turkey? Because I think the situation in France is not the same in Turkey. We have more military driven policies, more authoritarian driven policies. Society is feeling squeezed, cornered. I think now Parliament has been bypassed, and we have now Parliament is open in theory, but in practice, it doesn't have any power. All things are being regulated by government decrees. Decrees are bypassing Parliament, doesn't give any floor for debate, discussions. It comes and automatically, with the government's majority, it is adopted. All things, legislation. First, it enters into force, and then it comes to the Parliament to debate. And this is something. And then, if you complain anything in the state of emergency, you have no authority to appeal. All courts are closed. Even you can't go to the European Court of Justice. In practice, there are a lot of complaints they are taking now from Turkey, but at the moment they have yet to look at it, any of them. Yes, this is a coup attempted coup. Overwhelming majority of the plotters are Gülenist group. Yes, there is no question about that. And those who are being held responsible must be tried. There is no question about that. But within the parameters of law, rule of law, and within the principle of democracy. And there is no proper authority in Turkey for the moment. So those are the issues we have been facing internally. When it comes to the, our foreign policy, something also has changed. Government feels squeezed domestically and trying to open up new, more reconciliatory approach with neighbors. But yes, there are some little steps taken in relation with Israel, and there is a normalization with process now going on with Israel still, and also with Russia. But we have a serious problem with Iraq, Syria, and all Middle East, almost with all Middle East countries except Saudi Arabia. Even we have some, to a certain degree, we have a problem with Saudi Arabia. What hasn't changed in government's approach when they say we will change something is the sectarian-driven policy. Government is pursuing a more sectarian policy in the Middle East, where sectarianism is the most divisive factor of all societies. What we are going to see in Middle East, a division along the ethnic and sectarian lines, and government is part of that. We have seen all advices coming from governments just addressing the sectarian issues or sectarian related issues. That means root causes of the problem is not changing. I think I should stop here to take more questions to make it more dynamic, right?
Okay, well, no. I'll ask you a couple of questions myself first, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Because if you could perhaps say a word about the current relationship between Turkey and the EU, because we are here in Brussels, and also vis-à-vis the United States, particularly perhaps within the framework of Turkey's recent intervention into Syria and where that's heading.
First of all, let me say a couple of words about Turkey's relation with the EU. Now the level of relation is at the lowest level. Almost process is stalled. And what we are saying as main opposition party, to be able to revitalize the process, at least 23, 24 chapters could be opened. Because we discuss in Turkey rule of law and the lack of principle in Turkey at the moment. What we can do, EU can gain another leverage on Turkey by opening up these chapters for negotiations. At least, yes, in practice, maybe it's not going to change whole things. But to a certain extent, EU could again gain some control over the relations with Turkey. This is first. Second, EU has no voice in the Middle East almost. Everybody, when I was here also, people were discussing EU has no single voice about on foreign policy. EU is more divided on foreign policies, has no, very influential foreign policy approach towards beyond EU. Those, were being discussed when I was here still, but EU more getting isolated at the moment. When you look from abroad, EU is more now fighting with its internal issues, Brexit, Eurozone, migration, refugees, and all things. And Syria is, yes, maybe being discussed here, but EU has not become a real actor, party to the Syrian conflict, nor to the Iraqi issues for the moment. Can we work together? Yes. Is there a room? Yes, we have. How can we start then? We can start because migration issue was, just a limited area. It was more for Turkey to do than EU to respond. We can create other areas, for example, particularly maybe in the Syrian crisis, maybe in the aftermath of the Syrian crisis, there would be a reconstruction of Syria. We can work together. We can coordinate things together. And there is no coordination towards this region. Yes, in relation with United States, government's relation with United States at the moment is soaring. There is no trust, neither from Turkish government side to the European United States, nor from United States administration towards Turkey. There is no trust at all. Two things are dominating the agenda which we disagree on. The first one is PYD. For the Americans, they say this is not a terrorist organization. This is our partner in Syria. Government is strongly opposing this. The second one is Gülen's extradition. And the extradition of Gülen, whether he will be returned to Turkey for trial or not, this is also another topic. So two things are now dividing us, and I think there is no easy solution given the current circumstances and situation.
Okay, thank you. So I will open the floor. If you have a question, can you please tell your name and your organization? Who would like to start? Who wants to be the brave one? Okay, Georg. Is a microphone coming?
Well, I can handle without the microphone.
Huh?
Great.
Another field of cooperation or potential cooperation could be Cyprus. Where do you see that going?
Okay, and we'll just take a second one here, if you hang on. Andrew? Okay, and then even a third one.
Yes, I see my friend there.
Yes, well.
No problem.
Yes, good afternoon. To flesh out the question on Cyprus, I think that Kinshu and Anastasiades are as close to an agreement on the internal issues that they're going to reach in the absence of the permission of Turkey to proceed further. Could you spell out the policy of the CHP on the Cyprus issue? And do you think there's the slightest chance in the present circumstances that you've described that Tayyip Erdogan is to make the slightest concession on Cyprus? And if I could ask a second question, it appears that the AKP has now finished the fiction of accession to the EU and are prepared to negotiate a kind of association agreement, which they compare to Norway, to Brexit, to some kind of poorly defined, but clearly something short of full membership. Could you explain the CHP's position on that, please?
Michael, right?
Andrew.
Sorry.
Andrew.
Andrew.
It's Andrew Tuff.
Andrew Tuff, sorry for that.
And we have met.
Yes, that's why, sorry for that.
Okay, Andrew, can you just blow the microphone to your neighbour and then we'll come over here.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Yılmaz. I'm Tommy Huhtanen, Executive Director of Markets this think tank. Very short question. You mentioned already Gülen movement and their whole situation, but what is your view, taking into account that already more than 100,000 people have been involved, taken out from the administration, universities have been closed? How do you see that? Because you say that, of course, those guilty ones needs to be taken to a court and to be charged, but are the current actions, do you think there's a danger that it will have a destabilizing impact on Turkish society?
Yes.
Okay, and let's just take the last one in this round.
First of all, welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's really pleasure to see you again, and it's really very important that you're here and that we're able to exchange, because it's very important to know that there are many Turkeys, not only one Turkey. And you have also your representation here, and we're very lucky to exchange a lot with your representations in Brussels, which is also very important, and Turkish coffee or Greek coffee, whatever you can call it, it's always welcome. My name is Öztürk Yılmaz, for those who don't know. I work in the judicial reforms area. I've been following Turkey for many years. Now I'm following the European Union judicial policies. And though Greek, I will not ask you neither for Aegean or Cyprus. my question is about rule of law, because you referred a lot. I would say that following Turkey for many years, as regards public administration, modernization of public administration, electronic means, e-governance, e-justice, in the past Turkey made very important steps. For a very big country, 70 million people, it's really a good example of, if we want to do something as regards technical means, we can do it. On the other side, there are now really many back steps concerning independence of religion. I'm sure that you follow also what happens in the European Union. European Union intervenes in Poland, for example, at this stage for the same issues. It's the rule of law issue, it's the issue of the Constitutional Court, it's the issue of the independence of the judiciary. So, my question is it possible to make the difference between the technical issues, so quality of the administration, quality of e-governance, quality of e-justice, efficiency of justice, and the issue of the rule of law? My personal view is that technical means, if they're well developed, and even if they're under the hands of a person who doesn't respect the principles, can be very dangerous.
Yes.
This is my personal view, but it's not commissioned. But I would like to have your insight about this. Thank you very much.
Can I?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, Amanda. I think two questions about Cyprus. Yes, there are 6 chapters, almost 4 chapters, 4 topics. 2 sides leader, they declare that there are unprecedented achievements, at least on the power sharing and on the EU subject, on economy, and for the property there are some swaps and more financial aspect has not been resolved yet. But there are 2 important topics which we believe are not easy to resolve. There is an optimism, relative optimism of Turkish Spirit President and the Greek Spirit Presidents. They say, okay, we will achieve the peace deal before the end of 2016. As a person, covering this issue almost more than 4 years, I am not that much optimistic, to be realistic. Because territory issues are always a complex issue. Now they have been looking at, without referring to the names of the location, percentage of the territory which will be given, give or take process. But the most important issue is, yes, territory, but as well as guarantee agreement. And that is also another issue which I believe is not easy to resolve for the moment. Can we do that? Can we resolve it? Yes, we can. But we have to be very transparent and optimistic. And, we have to work diligently to resolve it. At the moment, 2 leaders, yes, meeting in an intensified talks almost every week. But when we look at the size of achievement, or we see not really, we are not really optimistic that we will find the solution before the end of 2016. what we can do, we are main opposition party, we are fully supporting the comprehensive settlement based on the principles we have discussed. I think there is no question about the principles. We have been discussing all along the 40 years, 50 years. We have been discussing. I think there are two issues. First, intention. Second, no one is trying, daring to take a political risk. And this is also important. No one is daring to take a political risk to resolve this issue, because as a politician, they do not want to face too much tough questions.
Sorry, so nobody in Turkey.
Both sides, from the Greek Cypriot side, from Turkish Cypriot side, from Turkey and from Greece, and there is a kind of lack of trust, yes, but it's a more political issue. No politician really want to take a real risk to resolve this issue, and that's why process is very slow. That's why they are playing on time. That's why they are not too much determined to do so. But our position is very clear. As a main opposition party, we believe that Cyprus issue must be resolved in one way or another, because it's enough. How long are we going to wait another decades or so on? But the principle must satisfy both sides. Solution must be fair, and as much fair as it could be, because there is no 100% fairness in any solution. But it must be fair, sustainable solution as well. But there are two issues, I believe, we have to spend more time. One is territory, the other one is guarantee, side of the comprehensive settlement. There are some ideas being floated, like five-party, to resolve this issue, in somewhere, not in islands, but somewhere, like Camp David type talks. Yes, they can. But for the time being, I think first we almost left this issue to the two sides to discuss it. It could be good, but there is no enthusiasm. If they do not do, no one is putting pressure on them. This is first. Second, and as I said, political risk. Someone must be courageous to take a political risk to bring this issue to the end. Otherwise, we will discuss another 2017, 2018, 2020, 2040. We will discuss. We will keep discussing the Cyprus issue. Yes, but there must be some end. If you see that this is the end, you have to either take your break. People focus on this. It's an open-ended, and there is no punishment or no benefit of solving or not solving the issue. So therefore, Cyprus issue always in limbo. The second one is about this. You said too many purges, about the purges. Would it create a kind of instability in the government sector, right? In society, yes, because society, it is equal to 1 million people, and they have, as a party, we have been taking a lot of complaints every day. Almost 35,000 people have appealed to our party with a claim that we are innocent. We don't know, but it's a kind of expelling from the government job is really a tough decision for government. I think those issues will create kind of social problem in Turkey in a very near future, and this will backfire to somehow. In 2000, in 1980, the coup, there were 5,000 people have been dispelled from the government job, but they returned. And in this situation, we don't know. And many of them have childs. They can't find government job. They can't find job in anywhere if there's a connection. And without the court cases, people are being expelled from the job with a government degree. It is published like this. 10,000, 20,000 people are in the morning fired. So I think that's why I am putting emphasis on rule of law. And it's very important. If those people are guilty, yes, they must be tried. And in a normal situation, in a court cases, yes, they must be punished. But according to the rule, and the supremacy of rule of law is extremely important in such cases. That's why I said chapter 23, 24 is almost, necessity, urgent. It bears urgency for the moment to have the EU voice over all this process, what we are doing internally. There is no external controlling mechanism of this process in Turkey. All courts are closed, and we can't. There are two international conventions. One is the Human Rights Court. We suspended temporarily, and the other one is United Nations Civil and Political Rights Convention. We also suspended 13 articles which we believe could not be suspended, but suspended. There is no mechanism to go. Therefore, there must be some political influence of the EU over the whole process by opening up these chapters to oversee what is going on in Turkey.
But we know that chapters 23 and 24, are blocked by Greek Cypriots. And
yes.
There doesn't seem to be any, signal that they're going to change their position, unfortunately, because I totally agree with you. So unless there's a way of finding some sort of parallel process to open chapters 23 and 24, it doesn't look very likely.
I think it is in the interest of the EU, all countries' interest, to keep Turkey on the democracy path, rather than pushing it to a limit which is not the rule of law. It is not a democracy. We are in a critical moment. We need some help from the EU, but not financial help. But those two chapters at least, if opened, we at least understand that EU is somewhere. Now your commission is going to issue the progress report, November, if I'm not mistaken, right? And what are you going to offer to Turkey? Nothing. Then you don't say that EU do not have any influence in Turkey. But you are not opening. There is no political benchmark. We need those chapters to be opened to discuss what government is doing, what government is violating. Maybe you could not prevent all things. Maybe it is not enough to prevent all things, but at least you have some saying in all entire process. And about my dear friend, about the rule of law, that I think our position is very clear. We want an opening of these two chapters, because at the moment we are being suffocated by measures taken every day, day to day. We do not want to drift away from the EU. We do not want to go to the Middle East or somewhere. We do not see them as partner. We see European Union as partner. Therefore, in such difficult situation, I think little political consideration which blocks Turkey's opening these chapters are not helpful, I think. We must think positively and in a broader context.
Okay, Andrew actually had a second question, because you said that President Erdogan reportedly said, is that correct, that he would accept another sort of agreement, like association agreement, like Norway or something that would be similar to Brexit? I have to say I didn't hear him say that specifically.
I also did not hear.
I heard him say that if the EU wanted to basically dump Turkey, that was up to them, but he was still committed to the process.
Yes, but the ministers are now saying that they will, that they aren't seeking full membership, and I think that Brexit has as it were, stimulated the thought that there can be an alternative prospectus.
But which ministers?
The Minister of the Economy, speaking in steps on Friday, was extremely explicit about that.
I have never heard, maybe if this is the statement, I think it is wrong. We know that the process with the EU is open-ended, a very tough process. It's not easy. There are a lot of pitfalls on the way. We know, and even in such situation, we face the attempted coup, and we face a one-man rule. We need urgently some oversight of the EU over at least whole legal process. We still believe that we must be the full member of the EU. This is our party's position. Maybe AKP is changing fastly overnight because they placed Gülen's group into the state structures. Now they are blaming everybody that they are not. They say CHP placed. Yes.
Okay, do we have some more questions? Yeah.
Yes, my name is Brooks Stigner, I'm editor of Security Europe. I just wanted to ask you about Turkey and NATO. Turkish diplomats and military officials of NATO have been cowed into silence because of events in Istanbul and Ankara. They're afraid to speak out.
Sorry, I couldn't hear.
Speak up.
I'm speaking up.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah, okay. I'm just wondering about NATO and Turkey. Your diplomats and military officials there have been scared to speak out. They don't take decisions because of events that have happened in your country. So I'm wondering what kind of ally you think Turkey might become in the future. And secondly, conversely, NATO has been virtually silent about all events in Turkey as well. So I'm wondering, do you think it should speak out or not against this ally? Thank you.
First of all, you know this very well. In the wake of a coup attempt, some government officials implied that the involvement of NATO and the US and even European Union in the attempted coup. So there is now a distant soaring relations. People may be scared to talk. I believe that those tough days is going to go, and we will get back to the normalcy. NATO is our strategic, ally, and we are the party to the NATO treaty agreement. So we do not see any alternative. Sometimes government officials also try to portray as if relation with Russia or China could be an alternative to NATO. I think, yes, Turkey must have a multilateral relations with all, countries, good relation with all countries, but our NATO relations are unique and special, and I think we also do not agree that those comments are helpful. At least they create kind of, misunderstanding. And of course, officials are government officials. They are in Turkey. Everybody is in fear at the moment. You don't know, and if you are a diplomat, you don't have anything. It is just a matter of degree, government degree, to fire you the day after if you speak something against them.
Okay. Yes, please. You just wait for the microphone.
Hi, Mustafa Ulusoy, Euro Academic Director and Kanal Avrupa Television. Welcome to Brussels, Mr. Yılmaz. Your party, CHP, is a member of Socialist Party in the European Parliament. Socialist Party is second politic force in the European Union. Is very important for Turkey membership for EU. Have you any project or idea for working with this group, with your party for full EU membership of Turkey?
I think we have been working with all parties, all political parties, because Turkey's EU membership aspiration is, more than one party. It is more related with European publics. It is more related with European economy. It is more related with ups and downs of the international, developments. I think it's not an easy task. So we have been working with all political parties, including Socialist Party. But of course, can we do more? Yes. Can we do more? Yes. We have to, have more contact with all political parties. But at the moment, I think there is no too much enthusiasm in the EU, particularly related with the 15th July coup attempt towards Turkey. We have to know that also. We have to be realistic to be able to understand. But will it continue? Of course, it's going to change. There were different discussions 10 years ago in EU. Now we have different.
Yeah, the lady here.
Angelica Schenk from the Mission of Switzerland to EU. I'm wondering how do you assess the work of the Council of Europe in ensuring that the government will, follow the rule of law? Or actually, what I have been informed is that they are working with a delegation from the Council of Europe. So, do you think that would be a way to ensure rule of law, as long as, for example, as you suggested, the chapters 23 and 24 cannot be opened?
First of all, Council of Europe is working on some practical, remedies, solutions. First, they are trying to advise that whole process must be within the line of rule of law. Otherwise, whole bunch of dossiers will go to the European Court of Justice. This is, human rights court. This is not something they like, really. The second, they have some advice, but I am not sure government is really listening to them. There are regular meetings in Strasbourg, in Ankara, and back and forth visits. I know that. Recently, Human Rights Commissioner visited me. We have very in-depth discussion with him, and I advise him, please accept some dossiers and look at it, but assuming that domestic, procedure has been completed by decrees, because decree is automatically, when it is passed, it blocks all mechanism. So you can accept that domestic procedure has been completed. You can look at it. If you look at it, 2 dossiers, and decide and give your verdict on them, then it would discourage government to act, in a not reasonable way. They are assessing that. I don't know, because there are now complaints they are taking directly from Turkey. Normally, in a normal situation, there must be a domestic court process must be finished first and then to the Human Rights Court. But now automatically it goes to the Human Court. There are pending dossiers there waiting. We advise them to look at it then, because you can say that, okay, domestically there is no rule of law. The whole entire mechanism is closed. we can assume that domestic process has been fulfilled. Now we can look at it there. I don't know, will there be a result? But you know what we have been saying. There are coup plotters are clear. We know who they are, and government also knows. Try them. But process is so, there are a lot of ambiguities, and this is not compatible with a country who are trying to become the member of EU. This whole process is turned everything upside down in Turkey. So we are trying to keep them, you know, at a point not drifting a lot from the already fragile democracy.
But Turkey is also working with the Council of Europe for amending or trying to find a way to change its anti-terror legislation in order to get this visa liberalization, you know, hopefully by the end of the year. I mean, what do you think? Do you mean there's not very much chance of success? Because obviously this is going to have a huge impact, you know, one way or another, on Turkish society, on Turkey-EU relations. I mean, this whole visa liberalization topic.
Yes, I think visa liberalization is a very important topic for all Turkish citizens, because it's really a lot suffering. When you queue up, you understand how difficult it is really. It takes sometimes months to come here, even a tourist, a businessman. It's really shameful. Yes, I don't think government is going to accept anything coming from the European Union to change anti-terror law at the moment, given terrorism is at the highest, you know, intensity. But Council of Europe mechanism could be a remedy to go around, not to give impression that government is under the pressure of the EU, but as a commitment, or as a commitment of Turkey with the Council of Europe. That means it could provide another alternative. I think this could be done by government, but I'm not sure how serious government is, because they say that I know that there are some intention of the EU not to grant visa-free system to all Turkish citizens, but to give to create a category: businessmen, students first, and if this is okay, and then in a later stage to all Turkish citizens. That means 18 of March agreement is not fully planned to be implemented by the EU. They are trying to create a category first: journalists, businessmen, and if those are okay, then later, in a later stage, to everyone. I think, will government be satisfied of this? Because 18th of March agreement is clearly stating that a full visa liberalization to Turkish citizens.
But if they don't deliver the visa liberalization, I mean, what's the chances of the migration deal?
It's a set of package, Amanda. I think it is from the beginning. Davutoğlu made a great mistake by putting everything into, and EU also. From the beginning, it was a mistake for both sides. But yes, now we are trying to solve it. Look, readmission is something. Visa liberalization is something else. Negotiation is something else. You know, we tied everything each other. Now we can't find a way out. If Turkey say, okay, I will not implement the readmission, you would say we will not implement visa. We will not open up chapters. And if you say, okay, we will not do this, and Turkey say, okay, now putting a lot of refugees into the bus and sending to Europe. So this is a kind of vicious circle. It was a wrong from the beginning. Now we are discussing the outcome of it.
Yeah, I agree that it was wrong from the beginning, but at the same time, it seems to me it was actually the only way that Turkey could get the EU to move ahead on anything, because if there hadn't been the migration crisis, if there hadn't been that deal, we would still be in a situation where there was basically no engagement, no talking, no meetings.
Better not to talk than
Well,
to spoil. Now everything spoiled.
debatable. Okay, do we have another question from anyone? Okay, then maybe I'll ask another question, coming back to where I started, from our friends, you know, in the Kremlin. Maybe you could give your, you know, insights onto how the new relationship between Turkey and Russia is taking shape, because there's lots of speculations over whether it's like frenemies, you know, or good friends, not friends at all, marriage of convenience, and how it's likely all to turn out moving ahead.
First of all, Amanda, there is there is no confidence as we had before. But confidence is we are trying to create now, to renew the confidence again. But it's going to take time, and the pace of relation is now more in the hands of Putin rather than Erdogan, because Putin is trying to, yes, saying that we will open up, we will normalize situation, but it takes time to increase the leverage Putin can use over Turkey-Russia relations. I think now, will there be a normalcy? Yes, but is it easy? No, it is not. How long does it take? We don't know. In a full, but will there, is there an area to do so intentionally from both sides? Yes, because Russia, now we are the main gas importer, and this costs a lot to Russia as well to Turkey. We have to normalize the relation. We know that, and Russia also knows this. Let me say one thing. If you look at the trade turnover, the figures, Russia is getting more benefit than Turkey. And on the other hand, now government is discussing Turkish Stream project, Akkuyu power plant. Those are billions of dollars of projects. Russia is going to capitalize on that. But again, from the tactical point of view, the pace of relation is not in the hands of Turkey, it is more in the hands of Putin. Because Turkey is leaning to Putin. Erdogan is leaning to Putin. That is in diplomacy, you give more room to him to use.
But you've mentioned many times a deficit of trust in Turkey's relations with several countries. Have we not reached the point where we come to this, famous Turkish slogan, the only friend of a Turk is another Turk? Because that's what it sort of sounds like.
I think this is a more nationalistic approach, and I think in today's world this is not not something we are not discussing. Best friend of Turks are EU friends as well. So, but yes, the government has created friends with a way using more sectarian language. Government has lost friends by exaggerating this language. So, unless we change the context, the crux of matter is sectarianism. Unless we change this in our foreign policy, we will not change anything in a substantial way. Yes, circumstantial changes could be, but a real change could only be, happened through changing this sectarian approach. We have been suffering from a lot. And also, in relation with Syria, now we have been debating with Russia what we are going to debate. Assad should remain or with Assad or without Assad. Should remain or should be out. According to what criteria? Again, sectarianism. We must free ourselves of the clutch of this sectarianism. This is something we never accept as main opposition party in Turkey.
Okay, do we have a final question? Yeah? Okay, comment.
Kader Sevinç, EU representative of the CHP here in Brussels. I just would like to add something about our relations here in Brussels. Thank you very much for your question. So, you know, CHP is the first party which opened an EU representation here in Brussels, and we've been putting lots of time and energy and resources into the EU accession process. As Öztürk mentioned already, we have a constructive dialogue with all major political parties and their groups in the European Parliament. But with the PAS and the SND group, you know, we are a member of them and we are an integral part of the decision making. I myself as a presidency council member, so PAS, we are looking forward to hosting PAS in Turkey in the upcoming months. So, thank you.
Okay. Any final questions?
Well,
oh, Andrew?
yes, if I could. Yes, thank you very much. What are the political prospects of the CHP in Turkey?
First,
can I just ask a final
Yeah.
question, then you can ask both of them. I will make another slogan first, peace at home, peace in the world. And this brings me to the Kurdish issue, because I think we can't leave the meeting without talking about the Kurdish issue. What do you think the prospects are for getting back to the negotiating table anytime soon? Because obviously getting back to, you know, peace in Turkey or peace talks is going to be crucial also to what happens in Syria as well with the Syrian Kurds.
First of all, the prospect of Turkey, I think I don't see the prospect. Sorry.
Of the party.
Yes, party, our party, CHP parties. Yes, we think that Turkey is Turkey has a great potential. Geographically, it occupies the most important part of the world. We will overcome all these issues. Only think that we have to change. We can't overcome the issues in a way AKP is going on. We have to change the dynamics and the way. What would be the main aspect of this change is really creating an area where we can work together with our friends. AKP is not working with whole friends, selecting, making enemy, pinpointing some enemy and trying to persuade everyone that they are really enemy. Assad is enemy. Maliki was enemy. Putin was enemy. EU was biased. Europe, United States involved in the coup attempt, making a theory and trying to persuade people that that is right. We will change. We will act with reality, not with dream. We will act with reality. The reality is not something that AKP is really pursuing in its day-to-day action. They are in a dream. Either fight or really good relation more than deserve. When Assad was cornered 10 years ago, AKP was the proponent of having a good relation with Assad. International community isolated him. He was not speaking anywhere. Turkey took him to the international community, presented him as a trustable leader of Syria. And the same Turkey AKP turned to be the most worst enemy to Assad. The same is in relation with Israel. We had an excellent relation. There was nothing. Olmert was coming to Turkey. We were discussing all projects. Then out of a sudden, turned things upside down again. In relation with Iran, EU, United States, the same thing is happening. It's not reasonable. It's more, reactionary policy. It is not. They are not keeping the tone of relation within the context of reality. They are quickly changing everything. Today is Europe. One of the AKP officials saying Europe is our partner. Second day, someone else from the cabinet saying that they are the enemy. So there is no unity, no concerted action. Now, I think we do not deserve that. That's why we are saying we have to change the system by coming to power. Our party is the main opposition party. I think we have chance. And about the Kurdish issue, yes, Kurdish issue, we have been, you know, government said with a great enthusiasm that they would resolve the Kurdish issue, but 10 years after, they say there is no Kurdish issue in Turkey anymore. So also the same, ups and downs. I think, yes, first of all, terror must be stopped. We must condemn all sort of terror. But there must be also something more than it to resolve the issue. It has a political aspect, economic aspect, social aspect, and we have to address in a comprehensive manner to resolve it. Otherwise, we would be never in peace at home, neither in the world, particularly given volatile situation in Syria and the fastly, you know, evolving situation at the moment in Iraq. There will be a lot of spillovers. We would see the Kurdish issue would be again one of the main issue of the region, and we have to find somehow. We have to find a language, proper language, and also proper policy to address it. Otherwise, this would be also, Turkey is going to lose another 10, 20 years to tackle this issue.
Okay, if there's no further questions, then thank you very much, Öztürk, for coming and giving us your good insights into what's going on and what could be on the horizon. Hope you'll come back on another occasion and give us an update. It's always a pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kader, for the cooperation, and thank you all for coming here this afternoon. We'll see you the next time.
I also would like to thank you for your coming. If you happen to come to Turkey, please visit us, the main opposition party. We will give you more details, more insight than here in the European Policy Center. Thank you very much for the European Policy Center, and also my friend Amanda to organize, for organizing this gathering for us. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.